Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Conversations in Ken's Cafe, the Dem Pure edition. So we have a Dem Pure farmer with us today from Pacific Northwest Roots. How do you want me to? Is it Raz Paul? Is it Raz K Paul?
So we'll drop a big one on my name is actually Bradley Paul.
Okay.
And Ross is like a title. Ross meaning prince, king, and it refers basically
Hello,
to
King.
my Rastafarian beliefs. And
Cool.
then Kaya was kind of a nickname, which means the herbs, the ganja, and
Okay.
so that was kind of a nickname that my friends gave me because I always had the good sacrament. So it's Ross Kaya Paul.
Cool, man. Yeah, I love how you've incorporated, your passion for this plant and what you're doing with it within your name. That's wonderful, man.
For a long time, people didn't know my name. I come from black market times and days when, I didn't want people to know my name, and I didn't want to know your name either. It was much safer that way for everybody. And
Yes.
I cut my teeth in kind of a different era. I'm nearing middle age here, and so I've been at it for quite a while. I started hustling when I was 18, kind of near the Canadian border when I went to college, and
Close to me.
Yeah. I was up at Western in Bellingham, so I was visiting Vancouver very often and getting harassed by the border guys every time I came back. And eventually they got Mark Emery, but they were searching my car every time, thinking I had him in my trunk.
and Silly Lily wants to point out you're still a young pup. Laugh out loud.
Listen, I got 4 youth, and I'm actually almost 50 years old. But I got good genetics, give thanks. And my wife keeps me young, my babies keep me young, healthy living, earth kind living, and good eating. And I think all of this stuff keeps us young, having a lust for life.
Let's lead to that into the first question that I ask you then is, how did you get started in this? Like, whether you're, in a child, teens, adult, where did your journey begin?
Well, with cannabis, my dad was kind of an outlaw, but in a different way. He was a hound hunter and a chicken fighter. And so I was kind of just raised different. And I played sports when I was younger, and I had some head injuries. So when I went off to college, they were giving me all kinds of different pharmaceutical drugs to deal with the side effects of this head injury. And we know now, we know a lot more about it than we did at that time. So cannabis kind of saved my life, because these pharmaceutical drugs, they just weren't working. And and then I just kind of got into herbs, and it was healing for me, and it worked. And all of a sudden I didn't need these pharmaceutical drugs, and I kind of was myself again. And that was like 1995.
Cool.
And about 2 months into college, they gave me my second government student loan check, and I invested it in some Canadian herbs, and which was plentiful in Bellingham at the time. And we just started doing my thing in the dorms, and shortly after that, we were putting up lights. We had a little Phototron in the closet. We were pulling down all the HPS lights on campus and making little boxes in our apartment complex. And then summertime, we were on the bike trails looking for creeks to divert water from and plant seeds, and just learning the whole time, not really knowing shit. And so that was kind of my first experience growing. And I made a lot of mistakes, and I felt like it was kind of a wasted effort. So I stuck with what I knew at the time, which was, really hustling, and then it kind of developed into smuggling, and bringing those things, moving them around. And that really helped me get through college. And, I just saw no reason not to just keep pursuing it. I stayed in college because it was a good environment to be in, target rich environment. So it took
Yep, yep.
7 years to get my 4-year degree, but I was in no hurry. I was enjoying it. I was making more than the professors, and and then as the medical stuff came on, that was a whole different kind of, that was much later. So I'd really been at it for a long time and in the streets and doing
Yeah.
doing other things. After 9/11, that Canadian connection really dried up. They
Yes, I would think.
shut the border down. I
Yeah.
mean, you couldn't get anything across the border. They shut it down. So at that point, in Washington here, we had a lot of local stuff, and then there was a lot of pressure coming down from Canada. We never really seen California weed, but after 9/11, it didn't take 12, 18 months, and the California weed started to bubble up because the Canadian pressure had subsided. And at that point, the hustle just changed and went in a different direction, and I did that for a long time. And 2009, 2010, the medical scene really took off here in Washington, and I got married about that time and came back, and there was the first 2 or 3 brick and mortars, and I infiltrated, and I had the good herbs, and then they got popped, and I'm like, I want to run your store. I bailed these guys out, and I was like, I want your store, and they're like, deal. And I ran several different brick and mortars in Washington, and got shut down. We'd run for a couple months, and the police would come in and shut us down. But they didn't really want to take anybody to court because they were losing, and then they were getting sued. And once they lost a court case or two, they just quit. And then at that point, there was this watershed moment in history for like a couple years, really, where the medical scene in Washington State was just incredible and developing, and it was patients creating new products and taking care of each.
Yeah.
It was really beautiful, and people were living better. And at the same time, it was kind of like they were recovering from this housing crisis that had happened. So, it really was like a float to many people, and it helped them to stay above water.
Yeah.
And then there came this push for legalization, and it was a scam. It was a scam from the start, and we knew it. And we had created a group called the Cannabis Action Coalition, and we went after these people that were trying to perpetrate and act like they were part of the movement, and
they weren't.
And it was really slimy, the stuff that they were doing. And we had this guy who was really, really smart. He was kind of a savant, and he knew how to manipulate the Freedom of Information Act.
Cool.
So we were reading the government emails, having weekly meetings, and we had this online group of growers, and we raised significant funds, and we were taking people down to Olympia, the capital, and having them lobby on behalf of patients. And we shut down the legalization movement. And the next year, when they tried to roll it out again, they blackballed us. We tried to get lobbyists and stuff, and they would take a meeting with us, and the fix was in. And it was really weird because then I was traveling around, and I was finding this was happening in Vancouver.
Yeah.
This was happening in other states where it was being rolled out. It was the exact same kind of like formula, and it felt very orchestrated. And some of those powers that are working and influencing. I mean, you always have to keep in mind this is not conspiracy theory. This is just fact. Okay.
Yeah, it happened.
But this is hundreds of billions of dollar industry. Washington State alone has taken in billions, $2 billion plus in tax revenue. They take 45.
That's what they want.
45 cents of every dollar. Yeah. Made in the cannabis industry goes to the state of Washington. It's mad. It's crazy. So we've kind of been resisting and trying to subvert the system, and try to take care of our Dempure family, the kind of the way that we've always done it, and I've made some attempts at operating in recreational space and teaching people how to do that in the best way that they can. And the reality is it's really hard because it's a fixed game, Yeah. It's all kind of rigged, and you'd have to go to like I don't know, like Soviet Union or something, to see something where they've, just tried to design this whole thing instead of just letting it work. It's supposed to be, this is the West. It's supposed to be
The Wild
laissez-faire.
West.
This is laissez-faire, right? Like let if there's 1,000 or 100 or one shop in your community, it doesn't matter. The market will sort it out. But they've really tried to put in all these kind of weird controls, and it's retarded the growth, and it's cost a lot of people their inheritance and their
Yeah.
investments, and it's hurt untold thousands of people. And I don't know if it's all good or all bad, but
I
anyways.
think in some ways it's a little of both, because people had to get kicked in the head hard enough to realize we've got to come back together, because the only way to change things is we, the people, stand up. So go back to the medical, go back to, what you were doing originally, helping people, and it's caring, sharing, and community, and, make them change the rules by having too many voices where they can't shut you down.
I meditate on this a lot. I got 4 kids and I love them,
Mm-hmm.
and actually get emotional speaking about the farming and stuff and the way that I was taught how to do these things, because I in my heart I know this is the answer. And but when I meditate on some of these bigger problems, these systematic problems that we have, I end up banging my head against the wall, and unless I just think smaller, unless I think community, I think, man, I can really
Yeah.
influence my 10 neighbors. I know them really well.
Yeah.
We're making plans, we're doing our thing, we're becoming more self-sustainable. I mean,
That's where it starts.
this COVID thing was really weird. I don't, people got their own opinions about it. That's great, but whatever your opinion is, it was scary. And
Yeah.
if you think that just going back to grocery store, food, living, that kind of thing is gonna serve you, have at it. But for me, like, I cannot do that. I need to be much more self-sustainable, and maybe
Yes.
use
Yeah.
those other kind of things that are tied to the system as
Mhm.
I don't know, ancillary or whatever. But like, when it comes down to it, I need to be able to provide off of my land for my people without going to the store. And how do I
And for
do
your
that?
family and your community. That's why I preach caring, sharing, and community, because the only way, if something does go really freaking stupid, the only way to survive is to have that community.
Yeah, and you even if you had your own little food forest and your perfect little
Yeah.
garden, you can't do it by yourself.
Yeah.
You might make it 10 years and then you have a bad season and you're done.
Yeah.
So you need people, near and far, because then the and trading networks and all kinds of
Yeah.
they say the future is ancient. And the future that I
Yeah.
imagine is ancient. It's not some kind of technocrat world where we're and I think that the internet and stuff, this is a great tool for us to spread the information, but we got to go out and we got to do the work in the real world, with our hands in the dirt. And
Yeah.
I don't.
You have to be in the biology. You have to have that dirt under your nails. It's for us, we have to grow. That's one of the pleasures of consuming cannabis is and growing it, is you get so in touch with nature and how she grows, and you want to know more and more and more. And the more you learn, the more you realize, I don't know anything yet, I'm still learning.
Yeah, Master Joe calls that like empty mind. And it's a great way to learn.
Yeah.
Just go out there and observe and get rid of your preconceived notions. And
Yeah.
um, it's
And
all there
listen.
for us. It really is. My favorite. I get a little biblical, but my favorite verse in the Bible talks about, um, you know, the birds. They're not storing things and they're not worried about it. You know,
Yeah.
Mother
Yeah.
Earth provides. And it will provide for us too. We're just like the birds, and maybe more important. So we're okay. We'll be taken care of. It's the myth of scarcity is real, and they've kind of programmed us to believe in the scarcity thing.
Mhm.
It's just
All we actually
it's
have
just
to do is stop throwing away, the food that isn't perfect, like potatoes that aren't look perfect and round. If we stop throwing that food away, we could feed the whole bloody planet from North America.
yeah. Again, and it makes more sense, instead of having big centralized food service things and big
Yeah.
centralized farms. To me, that's like dangerous. That's super dangerous. We've seen how dangerous that is. We
Hmm.
need it broken down. We need it decentralized. Your food supply should be local.
Yeah.
Even my wife is Native Hawaiian. In Hawaii, 90% of their food is imported. I mean,
Yeah.
for millennium, it wasn't. They had everything taken care of. They had the Lo'i system, and they
Yeah.
farmed, and they took care of their fish a certain way, and they didn't need any of their food brought in. This is madness the way that we do it. It
Hmm.
really is.
It's all about the money. It literally is all about the money. That's how the
Well,
system is set up. That's how government is set up. They're a corporation. So you got to go at them with contract law is about the only thing you can beat a corporation with.
I just think that they make it really easy for people to be dependent upon them, and that gives
Oh
them
yeah.
power over you. And
Yep.
for me, I don't want a handout. I like to work. I like to
Yep.
stay fit. I like to sweat. I like to get dirty. Like that's I got scars on me. Like that's okay. And
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
man, I bled today. I got stung up. Whatever it is, it's part of the experience. And I think too much people are afraid of that, and I don't know. I think people are getting back to it and falling in love with it and
Yeah.
finding it satisfying. I mean, my dinner tastes really good when I'm exhausted. And I've
Oh
been
yeah.
working. I've been logging all day today out in the forest with my buddy, and um, there's something to it. There's something to the smells and everything else. So
Yeah. Exactly. And it's that time that you spend with your friends in that community looking at nature that really brings everybody together.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So how did you find Dem Pure? You were tracking down the creeks, and then you moved into Dem Pure. So how did you find them?
Well, I was actually growing like indoor hydroponic stuff for years. Just cash
Hmm.
cropping, and then I had kids, and I kind of switched over to organics because we were growing in the home, and I didn't want my kids around any kind of pH up, pH down shit. I wanted them to be able to
Right.
experience the garden with me, so I kind of refurbished my whole thing. And then my friend Scott, folks might know him as Spacebound and Down, and
Cool.
he's out of Michigan. And him and his buddy Organotron, they called me up and said, "Hey, we want to go to this Living Soil Symposium." He was living out here in Washington at the time.
Hmm.
They're having this symposium down in Oregon. You should come with us. And I went, and I woke up that morning. This guy's smoking out on the deck there, and it turned out to be Mugwort
Josh.
and
Okay.
Larry Buckets, and those guys from Oregon, but they're originally from Philly. And then I went. I didn't even have a ticket, and my guy Arlo from Arlo Systems, Matt, let me in, and Josh and Kelly were one of the speakers. And there was about
Cool.
300 people in this big ballroom,
Hmm.
and um, it was incredibly powerful and emotional. I don't know if there was a dry eye in there. When Kelly was talking, it was like she was channeling, nature's voice, and just talking about being responsible farmers and being grateful for, the gift that living soil gives us. That,
Yeah.
that's really how we're created. That's, and kind of making these really profound um, and truthful conceptual and factual statements, and people were crying, and like it just blew my mind. And I think that was like a thermophilic compost pile. We were all in there, and it was just bubbling up, and then we left, and that message spread. And since then, I have seen such an incredible increase in
Hmm.
big farmers, small farmers, everybody turning to organic, trying to learn regenerative methods, um,
Yeah.
Korean natural farming stuff, permaculture, and for me, um, sometimes there's infighting in different factions and different, I Lane
Hmm.
from this or Chris Trump this and that, and for me, like it's all knowledge, and it's all wisdom, and apply the stuff that works for you and don't use what doesn't work for you, but it's all really really good stuff.
And when
And
it boils right down to it, it doesn't matter how you grow, what you grow, as long as you're growing, it all is based on biology. No cell can divide without it. So we have nothing without it. So, and that's what Kelly is talking about on a much more deeper level. But it really comes down to that. If we don't have that in our soils, in our plants, in our animals, and in us, we don't exist.
facts, I had stomach issues, and I went to Western doctors and they couldn't figure out. And then I went to a naturopath and he's like, "What are you
Yeah.
eating? Take these things out of your diet." And then
Yep.
I started studying, and like the things my mom knew and was telling me, it was like, wow, she was so far ahead of her time, and figuring out, what foods you really should be eating and what you can't eat and why things are bad for you. And
We're
and why
not that far away from people that knew that. Your mother's mother, she grew up in a time where she had to grow her own food and they didn't have all this extra chemicals. We're not that far away and yet we're struggling to get back. And like you, I hate the arguing. It doesn't matter how you grow. It doesn't matter if you follow Elaine or Chris or whoever. It's pick the voice that resonates with you and your method of growing. Like if you're on a farm, it's one way. If you're in an acreage, it's another. If you're in an apartment, it's totally different again.
Yeah, but just making that effort to try to do things in a natural way,
Yeah.
that's all we can ask. And once people start down that path,
You get
they stay on
addicted to it.
they stay on it,
Yeah.
because you can't unknow this shit. You can't unknow
Exactly.
you can't unknow it. And like either you love yourself or you don't. And if you love yourself, you're gonna keep making these good choices.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you don't, you're gonna keep eating toxic food and fucking yourself up and
It's
not
why
feeling
you
great.
look so young. It's why you have that baby face and that nice skin, yet you work outside in the sun. It's because you're putting the right, building blocks in your body that's healthy for you. And you have the good biology built in because your fingers are in the dirt. You're getting that both ways.
So there's a science to it, right?
Oh, yeah.
With the biological stuff, but there's also something else. There's also a higher power to it. And that higher power comes with your intention.
Mm,
And there's all
yeah.
kinds of studies. I just had shared this study that was done, and Deepak Chopra was talking about. They were feeding rabbits this high cholesterol diet, but the one group of rabbits didn't get high cholesterol, and it was because they were being petted as they were being fed. And I had seen that before. That it doesn't matter if the food is grown organically. What really matters is it cooked with love? Was it made with love?
Did you
So
bank it?
these things that some people may call, intangibles or, esoteric or whatever it is, it's
Woo
very,
woo science? Yeah. Yeah.
it's, it's very, very real. So
Yeah.
if your methodology is whatever it is, as long as you're putting love in it and good intention, if you're not like, man, I'm going to get this plant as big as I can with Miracle Grow and just so I can get the money,
Yeah.
it's not going to be good. But if you got to use something that maybe isn't fully organic, but you're still putting love in it and you're trying and you want to, there's something in that metaphysical world that really connects. So, and again, I think that when people start down that path, you can't stop. I can't stop. Once I learned, like, my stomach hurt. Why does it hurt? Oh, the microbes there are the same as in the soil. So you're eating bad food, it's poisoning these, and then they can't digest the food. And by the way, roots in your stomach digest food the same way. Weak acids or with microbes. So if you got the
Yeah.
good microbes in your stomach biome or in your soil, you're gonna get a higher grade. You're gonna get more nutrients out. These kind of things were like revelation level in my mind, like understanding, like, what is our existence, how does all this work together or not work together, and how can I
Energy,
influence that.
frequency, vibration, like Nikola Tesla says, it's all energy, frequency, and vibration.
Yeah, Nicholas Mahmood from Green Source Gardens talks about this light energy and the
Yeah.
radiance collecting in the resin, and it really is it's super fantastic and
Hmm.
mystic, and it's real though. I mean, fiber optics, right? They're shooting light. They're
Yeah.
shooting light down these things, and it's carrying information. Do you think that
Hmm.
the natural world isn't conveying information to you too through these means? So, I
What's
love
the
that kind of
mycelium?
stuff.
What's the mycelium but the computer network of our planet? Everything's interconnected. And distance doesn't mean really that much to those signals.
No, right? I mean, the mycelium can move, right? The plant says, I need this mineral, and the mycelium can call it from distance and bring it
Yes.
through those channels and bring it through the plant and say, okay,
Yeah.
let's trade. The plant
Yeah.
can't walk over and go get it, right? The tree is
Yeah.
rooted where it's at, and its roots can stretch, but maybe it's not quite far enough, but they can move things along those lines. Like, how incredible is that? At one of the conferences, they were talking about the earth breathing,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
The movement of the tides is pushing and pulling air down into the earth. Like that to
Why
me is
plant
like,
at high tide? Because the moon's close and the water is drawn up through your soil. So when you plant in the moon cycle, you're planting into a more moist soil. That's part of the reason that your seeds are sprouting.
interesting, right? I mean, it's little things like that that to me it's the wonder of nature. All those little details that are so fascinating and awesome. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It keeps me, and I love to teach my children it.
Yes.
They're
Yeah.
fascinated by it. I've been stung up a bunch this week, and I caught my son last night. He's watching a documentary on bees, and
Okay.
in the morning, he's just telling me all about bees, and how they make queens. And then my friend came over, and he's like, we found the plantain plant. The plantain, it's a weed.
Yeah.
But if you pull those leaves and chew it, and then put it on your bee sting, this thing's gone instantly, like that. Um,
Cool.
I didn't even know this, and
Yeah.
so I don't know, all these little things about nature, when you get stung with a stinging needle, and there's the fern. So that's really an attractive and neat thing to just learn about our natural world and to regain some of that knowledge. And Josh and Kelly have been instrumental and crucial in kind of leading me on that path. And
Hmm.
everybody in the Dempure family sharing that wisdom, and they all seem to be very creative folks too. So
Well, have they
that
told you about the bee beds yet?
no,
Oh, okay. A bee bed is basically you have five hives, a platform on top, and then you box it in. So you're never in with the bees, but you lay on top of the hives. So you got heat therapy, vibration therapy, sound therapy, and aromatherapy happening all at the same time. It's supposed to be a phenomenal experience. They do it a lot in Europe right now.
no kidding. That sounds scary.
You're not in with the bees. The bees are underneath you, right?
Okay, okay.
No, I don't think I'd lay down on 5 active hives. Like that's like 50,000 plus bees. Nah.
Oh, I can imagine. It's just a bzzz, you're probably
Yeah.
feeling that buzz.
You
That's pretty
literally do.
wild.
It that vibration enters your body and you can feel it. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I'm right into bees and treatment-free beekeeping. But so what are some of the steps that you've taken that you can share with others that may be interested in moving towards Dempure? What are the things that you're doing for the closed loop to meet that qualification?
So I think there's a lot of really cool things that folks can do, that are really easy, like low hanging fruit.
Okay.
If you're, and again, there's these optimal situations, right? But
Hmm.
if you live in an urban area, and you don't have access to certain things, as an example, like if you're gonna go, I gotta grow your herb in a pot, right? Instead of filling it up with just soil, throw some wood in the bottom.
Yeah.
Go somewhere and locate some of those items that you need, and do a little layering. I'm a huge fan of hugelkultures, and I do that all over on my land. And
Yeah.
I just think it's like so crucial to just if you have forests near you, walk out there and grab it.
And get the punky stuff, the really soft stuff, because it's already ready to turn into soil at that point.
Yeah, and I live in the Northwest, so we've got these bays and everything around us. So, you know, we're going crabbing. I bring that stuff home. We eat the crabs. I give the chickens the scraps.
Yeah.
And then I crush it up and I give it to the worms. And like we're, you know, all of these things, whenever we're going fishing, we're using all the scraps to create our own FAA. Actually, just ruined the batch. I think I had a hole in it and it got some bugs in it, so I got to restart. But you know that happens.
Whoops.
But
Yep.
you know that's a favorite one of mine is, you know, because we love to go and get the bounty from the sea. So you know, bringing in
You're
sea.
lucky. I'm landlocked, okay, so I don't get that option. But I do have lakes and rivers that I can go and catch fish, and you just hope that the water's clean.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I mean, even here in the Northwest, it's pretty weird. The pollution's so bad, but you know, and I raise fowl, I raise turkeys, and I raise chickens. The other day we butchered a big old tom that I had, and we you know we added his blood to the garden.
Yeah.
You know, and then like as an example, I'm always, you know, adjusting and using different bedding and stuff, and then we'll recycle the bedding and make teas out of that stuff, or just top dress with the bedding, and cycle that through. We're pulling down logs and pulling logs out of our forest. Today we're knocking down, you know, dead ones and snags, and cutting things up and using that material in our hugel beds and everything else. So, you know, there's lots of ways, you know, if you're a fisherman, if you're a woodsman, you know, if you're a mushroom forager, you know, any of these things are providing you with opportunities to gather resources, you know, and you don't need a lot. Leaves are like, you know, tops. If you have a deciduous tree, a maple tree or anything like that, put those leaves in a pile and let them decay, and then go scoop them up. Like that's top grade right there. That's some of the best stuff you can find. With grass, you want to, even if you just, you know, have a small yard, you want to use your grass clippings. So worms are incredible. And if you're like me, you got a whole bunch of coolers and half of them are broke, so you're not using them to put your cold beer and go to the lake anymore. I keep them, and again, I put in a layer of rock. I put some wood in the bottom. I put sand, because the sand, when there's denser soil, the worms will make little baby worms.
Yeah. Okay.
And then when you release them out into your garden, within a generation, they'll make big worms. But you're able to make a larger number of worms in that concentrated soil. So then I put sand in, and my kids that's like their job. They go out and put all the scraps in there and feed the worms. So we're using worm stuff, and you can do, again, I got a couple of these, right? So one of them only gets the bananas and avocados. The other one, we put the green waste in. So when you're doing like yard clippings, leave it out flat, let it dry, and then collect it and feed it to your worms. You know, and we use cardboard stuff all over the farm. You know, that's another great job for my kids. They pull the tape off, and these are things that anybody can do. Everybody orders shit from Amazon.
I will point one thing out. If you have a small yard and you're pulling all your grass clippings, you're taking off too much organic material, and you're exposing your soil to sunlight, which can dry it. So be careful you don't overtake. You know, you don't have to take too much. You know, you still have to leave that mulch layer for the microbiology to survive in that soil.
Yeah, absolutely. Mulching is preferred, but like, you know, the first clipping of the year when you're bagging it to get it all off, and trying to keep the yard back from that overgrowth of spring, that's a good time to go ahead and do that. Let's spread it out. You know, if you clump it up, it's going to get anaerobic, and that's not a great thing.
Yeah, it's packed too tight and wet.
Use whatever resources that you can get, you know.
And that's the point.
That's the point. And, you know, Chris Trump was such a great teacher of mine. And, you know, collecting things locally, you know, if you're going to do like a fermented fruit juice or fermented whatever it is, you know, you want to pull it off your tree in your backyard. Getting it from the store, those things are often sprayed with things, or, you know, whatever it is. So they've killed the microbes on it. But those things can also still have value. I mean, you know, to ferment some bananas, you know, all the bananas that come in the country that have been fumigated. So probably not the best thing, but on the
It's
other
better
hand,
than nothing.
better than nothing, and you will
Yeah.
get a transfer of some of the terpene profiles. That's just how things work when you're feeding. If you have the microbiology, it doesn't work if the microbiology is not there.
It's
But
all
if you
about the
do have the
biology.
microbiology there and you feed them bananas, you're going to get, some kind of different flavor profile on your herbs. It's not going to taste like a Chiquita banana if you're growing something else. But those things can impart some kind of upgrade in your, the quality of your herbs. So all these little things are just ways that you can experiment. My friend Blue
Yeah.
was avocado tech. Cut an avocado in half. You got a real rotten one, stick that bugger next
Yep.
to your plant. The bugs and microbes will come up, get in there, eat it. You got some worms in there. They're, all things that even a hobby grower can do in your garden window.
Yeah.
And you'll find some kind of like vibe from it, and then you'll want to do more of it. And maybe you move out of the city and go start a little farm of your own. I don't know.
It's amazing how cannabis leads us on this journey into growing with living soils and producing our own food. They used to warn us, it's a gateway drug to harder drugs, but it's a gateway plant to growing your own food.
Man, there's nothing better than picking your lettuce out of the garden in the summertime. Like my body fiends for it. I actually kind of get an anxiety about the grocery store, but in the summertime when I can get up in the morning and go out,
Mm-hmm.
and I just drink some water, and by 11 o'clock you get a little hungry, and I'm picking berries
Yep.
and eating lettuce. Like I feel freaking great, and there's just nothing healthier.
Yeah.
Basically,
Well,
that's the pinnacle right there. It's as good as it gets.
and especially in the morning, like there's a reason I believe that you pick your material for an FPJ when the dew is still on there, that moisture, that's an extra. Like I don't know if are familiar with Gerald Pollock and the fourth phase of water, but that particular water is like super good for you at that time. That's why our FPJs are so full of biology or can be full of that biology. It's drawn up from the soil, and in the morning that dewdrop goes back down into the soil. You can actually water your lawn just from the dew, but when we take that and consume that, it's where we've got one gentleman. He's always tapping trees and using and drinking tree saps.
We call it goat tech. We get out there and eat the berries. We don't touch it with our hands. You just get up there and nibble off it.
Okay, I want video. I want video of that. Okay.
Videos. And don't wash your food.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know why you have to wash your lettuce from the grocery store?
Because it's sprayed with chemicals, man.
It's sprayed with shit.
Yeah.
Shit water from the Colorado River and mixed with cow poo and like the stuff in my backyard. No, it ain't ever been sprayed with shit. It's been fed with some cow shit from neighbors. You know what I mean? Like that's in the base of the lasagna and when I'm sheet mulching, but I'm not spraying with that stuff. And I don't want to rinse off those microbes. I want them on there.
You want to
if you get
eat
them in
them.
the
You want
morning,
them in
the
your
sun
gut
hasn't bled
biome.
enough. They're the same microbes.
Yeah.
You need that. That's probiotics. Making labs, folks. If you're not making labs and ingesting labs regularly, you're doing your health a disservice. If you have any kind of IBS, Crohn's, any digestive issues, stomach ailments, if you want your hair and beard to grow thick, your nails to grow thick, ingest labs daily. Labs, lactic acid bacteriums. You can look up how to make it. Super easy. If you cook rice and you got milk in your house, it's easy, done. I give it to my kids. We're really healthy. Like it's smart and it's so easy and so cheap. And if you if you're actually go to the store and you want to buy the stuff from the pharmaceutical companies, look on the back of it. And the biggest ingredient is lactic acid bacterium.
Mm-hmm.
It's lacto. It says it on this. The last 60 million, 60 trillion, whatever the fuck it is. You can make that in your own backyard with the local bacterium. So it's suited for you, you know,
Yeah. It's
in
your
that whole
terroir.
cycle. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
your terroir. The foods in your area. Like, okay, if you have an allergy, right, and you're consuming bee pollen, and say your allergy is for alfalfa, and those bees were in an alfalfa field, you can have an allergic reaction from eating their bee pollen, but they're not local to your area.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah. And like likewise, right? Like eating local bee pollen will help you with allergies. You know,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
it's pretty cool, right?
There's such a synergistic relationship to our to everything. Like we're just face it, we're just big bags of biology. You know, who we are is the energy field that surrounds us, right? We're just connected to this big thing of biology. And if we treat it right, it'll treat us right.
They say we're more microbial, we're more fungal and bacterial cells than we are human cells.
Yes, we're talking at magnitudes of 8 and 9 and 10. 700 or 72% biologic in our systems for our RNA and DNA. I'd actually have to look it up again. It's been a while since I went over it. But yeah, we're not we're more bacteria than human DNA. But that's not who I am. I'm this energetic attachment to this. I'm the energetic form, whether however you want to phrase that form. Um, but this is just a body.
You're the
It's like your
spirit.
plant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that energy, like we said before, it radiates. It makes a difference. What that energy is
Yes.
putting out.
Yeah. If
I'm a
you're growing with
living
love,
testament to it.
you get love back.
Absolutely, love is something if you give it away. I want to shout out everybody in the comments and thank y'all for tuning in. I was gonna tell Silly Lily, um, kale. When you eat raw kale, the microbes that break it down in your intestine will actually take that little piece of kale and embed themselves, and they'll release vitamin B12 into your bloodstream. That's like so.
Okay.
Anybody that's needing like an energy boost or whatever, just nibble on a little bit of kale every day or whatever. Get that in your guts, and that'll help with your energy levels. I've taken
Yeah.
B12 shots. I've been prescribed it and stuff, and I think that the kale works better and doesn't have a
Actually,
weird
you might
side
want to
effect.
try just straight bee pollen and take some of that. It's I was a truck driver for 20 years, and in my age bracket, everybody was taking bennies, uppers, and downers, and I used to just take bee pollen. And there's no crash. It's not a drug. It's natural to our bodies, and it's energy like you wouldn't believe.
Huh. I got a big jar of it. My wife mixes it in with this breakfast cereal she makes.
Yeah,
Um, but I'll have to try it just straight.
yeah. Like I used to put a little bit in the palm of my hand. Just think of doing mushrooms, where it's just like you just keep going, keep going, keep going, and then you just drift down, right? So yeah, it's really nice. But if you take too much, you're gonna probably be up for a while. Okay, I'll warn you that.
Good for those long steady deals. Hey, I
Yeah.
gotta bring it up because it's conversations in Ken's Cafe, and you've got
Yes, sir.
all these coffee beans down here on the bottom. So, um, I'm a seed breeder. I'm a cannabis seed breeder, and
Yes.
my flagship strain is the Kaya's coffee. So
Yeah.
it's an Afghani strain, bred using an alien OG mom and an alien Kush F2 male, and
Sweet.
those each of those respectively are Alien Tech, which is an Afghani Landris crossed to Tahoe OG, and then that same Alien Tech bred into Las Vegas Purple Kush to make the Alien Kush, and then those bred together to create the Kaya's coffee, and it really does got just a real rich, robust kind of coffee, sweet Afghani profile to it, and it's very strong.
Cool.
So yeah, I just thought that was
Cool.
kind of neat. Yeah.
Well, and I'm still. It's like 7:48 here, and I'm still drinking coffee. But as I said, I was a truck driver for 20 years. You lived on coffee, okay? Coffee and bee pollen is what I lived on.
So my wife is from Big Island, and we're big into coffee. We drink coffee a lot,
Yeah.
and man, Big Island has got some great coffee. And it's my understanding that like a lot of the stuff that comes from other countries is all fumigated, but the stuff coming from Hawaii is not. Um,
Okay.
so sometimes I get, if I drink something from other countries, I kind of get a reaction to it, get a headache or
Mhm.
whatever. But the stuff from Kona doesn't do that to me, and it's strong. That stuff from
Yeah.
Kona
Yeah.
is no joke. Like one cup and you're done. You try to drink two, and it's like, you know, you better have some serious work to go do.
You're gone, boy.
Yeah, yeah. My kids start ducking, hiding from me, like, oh shit, got two cups in and better run. He's gonna make us do work.
Come on, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't tell you we were doing this today, but I got 2 cups in me. Let's
Argument
go.
made.
We're doing another Hugo culture. Let's go. Come on. Come on.
Hey, my kids get out there and they help me with it. It's really the most beautiful thing. I love them,
Yeah.
and they make the best time of it. They pick rocks, and I just remember doing a lot of that kind of stuff when I was little. I grew up with 5 brothers, and um, on the same 14 acres, so it was a lot of work. And
Yeah.
but I just remember feeling that kind of bond between the family from doing the work. And
Hmm.
yeah, it's good. It's good. It's
Yeah.
good stuff. It's a good way to live.
Well, and that's it. It's you're living like there's people that have never been out into nature. There's kids out there that don't know where their food comes from. And I'm just so thankful that there's people like you teaching your children where it comes from and how to create it in the best way, because the children are the future, right?
Man, they really are, and they teach us so much. Um, my
Hmm.
kids teach me so much, and the way that they motivate and shape what I'm doing and how I'm doing it.
And why?
Especially like how I'm doing it. Because
Hmm.
just getting there is not okay. I have to do it in a certain way so that they can see it, and that's how my folks did it for me.
Yeah.
Even through their passing, the way that they dealt with that too. Um, it's something very strong that can be shared and passed down, and I think that that's super super crucial and
Hmm.
part of our human experience. And that Kelly talks about biointelligence in seeds.
Yeah.
And if you grow a certain strain and you're breeding it over time in a certain area, it becomes accustomed and it learns the microbes and it has this relationship with the land. And I think human beings are the same way. And we'd be wise to honor that and to pay attention to it. And you know,
Well, it's all about caring, sharing, and community. And the community is the plants, the animals, and our planet. Like that's our global community. It's every single human being on this planet. And if we can get 5% of those people to find shows like this and the training like Josh and Kelly Dampier has, then we can move our planet in a much better and safer direction than the direction we're going right now.
man, isn't that the mission? Like that's
Every
that's
day.
that's the mission. And
Yep.
my wife's family taught me in Hawaiian culture they make decisions. The ancients would make decisions with the seventh generation in mind. They would say, how is this going to affect our kids
Everybody.
7 generations from now?
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't do that. I
Oh
mean,
God, where
I might do
next
that,
week? Next
but the
week, I
system
think.
is not doing that. So we really have to think about that, and
Yeah.
we'll never get where we want to get to. My kids will never see that utopia that I dream of.
Hmm.
Um, though they might see glimpses of it here on our property, but we
Yeah.
can point them in that direction. And then my great 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 grandkids, they got to at least have a chance. But if we don't start pointing our ship in that direction, we're never going to land on that beach. you know. Um,
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the reasons that this channel exists, is to try to get the message out to more and more people. And like that's where we talk about, it doesn't matter what you're growing or how you're growing it, but bringing the biology back into the system. That's what is going to save us, because without it, well, we know what happens, and you and Josh and Kelly and the other Dem Pure farmers, kudos to you guys, because I know part of it is an educational commitment that you guys make, that you're going to help others find this path. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I don't know that I intended to be a message spreader or a teacher. Um,
Mhm.
but again, it's just one of those things that when you have this knowledge, when it's given to you, when somebody shares this stuff with you, and you can see how it impacts their life, and the quality of their life, and the way that they do things, and the impact it makes, it just makes sense, you know.
Mhm.
And again, we've had some experiences, some traumatic experiences, this whole thing with COVID, collectively, these traumas that I think have really opened up um, pathways that were closed off before. And
Mhm.
it's important that we pursue those, and walk that path, and look out for each other in that way. Um,
Yeah. Well, it's comes back to caring, sharing, and community again.
yeah, yeah, and as Rastas we say, each one teach one. And I've been blessed to be welcomed into many different houses, and my Native American friends share their sweat lodge with me, and they taught me how to pray in a different way. And
Mhm.
I take some of that wisdom with me, and I go share it with other folks. And
Yeah.
you know, some of the mana'o, some of the wisdom that I got from my Hawaiian family, I share that with people. And it comes from all kinds of places and experiences with people, and that
Mhm.
teachings in those little moments are really crucial. I think those are the most important kind. On a on kind of a more like industry related kind of thing. Um, over the last couple of years, there's been lots and lots, like almost like a continuation, and it's evolved and changed for better or worse. But different people taking the reins, and um, there's been lots of access to this knowledge, and lots of training courses and seminars, and I think that's really really awesome for people to be able to be there hands on, to
Yeah.
talk, be inspired, to make connection, to know there's other people that are fighting that same fight. And that's really crucial.
Yeah.
I'm teaming up with some guys from Canada. They're called
Cool.
Hashtag, and they make purpose built wash machines for solventless hash processing.
Okay.
We're going to be doing a seminar. The first one's going to be at Rosin Tech Labs down in Los Angeles. Um,
Cool.
so, for me, doing consulting and teaching people how to make solventless hash, how to do gardening using Hugo beds, so that you're decreasing
Mhm.
your cost of production, and then you can make it into the most valuable product that is out there today. I mean, the prices of solventless hash are exceed that of hard drugs, at this point, which is really,
Okay.
it's amazing. I mean, ounces of hash are going for, anywhere from $600 to $1,200.
So it's kind of like Frenchy Cannoli's system of washing it, or like an ice water.
Yes, yes, yeah, very, very similar.
Okay.
There's some differences. I think Frenchie was really doing lots of hand washing, and you know,
Well, he had built a washing machine with just a flat bottom, and he could control the vortex, and it
yeah,
was the vortex and the, because you don't want to hurt the trichome, you just want to pull it off the leaf.
yeah. And listen, for years and years, it was dry sift, and they would beat it with
Yeah.
sticks over screens. And
Yeah.
then people figured out how to mix this with ice and water, and then to use repurposed washing machines.
Yeah.
And then still doing hand washing, but now and only now. Only recently have people actually manufactured these machines meant for
Yeah.
this purpose-built stuff. There's the Osprey, there is the Hashtag, there's
Hmm.
these cryo-jacketed ones by Polar Pele and by
Cool.
Bugatti Bad Guys. There's a couple different companies, and a lot of them are really cool machines. Um,
Hmm.
but it's kind of the next evolution in this whole thing is having purpose-built machines, having people engineer them to do this thing and not just something that was
Yeah.
repurposed. And I think that's kind of really a neat thing in the space that people are and it's evolving. These machines, it's not like, hey, we made it, it's perfect, it's the iPhone. It's like, hey, Kaya, jump on this thing and tell me what's wrong, how can I change it, and then they go and
Yeah.
change it.
How can I make it better?
In a couple years, I think it'll be really, really interesting. Right
Yeah.
now, I think it's still in its infancy. Some of these guys have some really dope designs. The reason I like Hashtag is they have a top-down agitation versus a lot
Okay.
of them have a bottom agitation. And
Hmm.
I've always imagined that in my mind as something that was purpose-built. So
Yeah.
it's really cool. So that's kind of what I'm doing with teaching and sharing. And I've spoken at some of these conferences, some of the regenerative conferences, and those are always fun. And they put me on panels at some of the competitions, and
Yeah.
that's always fun as well. So
Well, that's when you get to sit back and relax and you really enjoy the time.
yeah, again, I got 5 babies, so I like to be at home.
Yeah.
And I've put in a lot of time for the community and for patients and for
Yeah.
teaching and all these things. So I'm really kind of getting more and more picky about where I go and
Yeah.
like the big high times events, I can't do it. The energy's just weird, and there's too much
You.
BHO smoke in the air, and it gags
Yeah.
me out. So, but I like certain events. I'm going to be doing this smoking jacket event in Portland here coming up, and
Cool.
um, you know, there's good stuff out there. There's access, which is neat.
Well, and that's where, it comes back to, the very beginning of our conversation when, when you were younger and you got into the medical side and everybody came together and was sharing and chasing the dream of being without pain and things like that. Um, the events that are happening now are starting to bring that back and that attitude back. And that's where I think our community can come back together to get laws changed globally.
You know, it would be really, really nice to see everybody kind of rally around that
Mhm.
flag, and put down the hype flag and the mylar bags and all this kind of weird stuff that's kind of infiltrated
Mhm.
our culture. And
It's
you
not the
know
first time. It won't be the last.
no, but I think it would be really cool, and I think it'd be really encouraging for people to see folks put that energy back into that, and maybe pushing back a little back and
Well,
getting some more of these medical rights reinstilled. But
we're not dumb stoners, okay? We're intelligent people that go to an art festival that has a cannabis event tied to it. That's how it's happening in Calgary. They finally got the first use of city property because they had an art event and they just had a cannabis tent where people could consume.
Ken, listen,
Yes, sir.
I don't know how to say, I don't know how to, it infuriates me.
Okay.
It's absolutely infuriating. In Vancouver, Canada, they've had injection sites
For
set up in
years.
downtown Vancouver.
Yeah.
Okay. In Washington State, in Seattle, they've given up whole blocks to people smoking fentanyl slumped over.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys want to tell me where and when I can smoke cannabis? Fuck off. They've lost their fucking mind. There's just a point now where it's just like, I can't take it anymore. I cannot swallow any more of their ignorance and their need for my obedience. I will not be obedient anymore. Fuck all that. You know what I mean? I have no appetite, no patience for it. It, as you can see, it
Yeah.
like strikes a chord in me. You know, oh, you can't have an open consumption for cannabis.
Yeah.
Motherfucker, you guys are letting, there's a 200 people on Second Ave downtown slumped over. You can't, if your house is on fire, you can't call the fire department because they're too busy Narcanning all these people.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck you guys. You know, we wouldn't be at this point in juncture if you would have freed up the weed in the first place. People wouldn't have been so desperate and had to resort to this kind of shit. Just stop already with the madness. You know, stop with that kind of madness. It just, I don't know. Disobey them. Do organize however you want to organize.
Yeah.
Smoke where you want to smoke. You know, if they want to arrest you, want to charge you, tell them. Put me in a jury, front of a jury of my peers, and dare them to get a conviction because it's not gonna fucking happen. If I'm on that jury, fuck them. It's getting hung.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just.
That's that chord. That's that rawness that you're struggling against, and I can feel it, man. I can really feel it.
Like,
But it's
no, you're
sometimes
not
it's like
injecting me
baby
with your
step.
shit. I'm not wearing a mask outside in the forest by myself. I'm just done. I'm done with like this the dumb shit. They think we're so fucking dumb. They treat us so dumb. And you know,
Yeah.
we are that dumb for tolerating it. And I feel like it's just time to rip off the band-aid and just look them back in the eye and go, no, not a fucking chance. No more.
Mm-hmm.
No more of this.
Well, that's how we got medical. That's how we got medical. Think about it. You know, it was the guy said, "Fuck you, man. I'm in too much pain. I'm doing this, and I'll take
I'm
you
be
to court
honest,
because I got the money."
it wasn't young guys like me. I was
Nope.
propping up the dudes, and they told me, I'll do it. Give me the shit. I'll do it. And these were old vet dudes, and these
Yeah.
guys they said fuck it, fuck these guys. We're gonna do it in
Yeah.
their face. I'm opening up a fucking store. Let them come in here. I've had
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
And then once they started getting sued by those kind of guys, and they lost the case or two, that was it. It was done. It's a wrap.
Exactly.
You know, this whole fucking time, that's all it took. Standing up to
Mm-hmm.
them.
Yeah. But it's got to be enough people that do it together and say, that's it. We've had enough. It's people change governments. Okay. We change policy, but we actually have to get out and do it.
That's it.
Yeah.
This power is ours. Quit giving it away.
Well,
Quit
and the
giving
thing is, it
power
doesn't
away.
even have to be cannabis specific events. Like Chris Trump, didn't he have an event in Washington here a week and a half ago or something? I think whatever Alexia from the Sun and the Moon, Queen of the Sun Growing, she was talking about. I think it was last week. He had something in Washington talking about Korean natural farming.
Listen, he's amazing, and he's not really a weed guy. He wasn't about weed. He got into this because the Most High called him, and he wanted to help farmers learn this methodology.
Yeah,
And I went to one of his first class in Idaho, and he did not realize what was happening. And I pulled him aside after day one and said, "Dude, I know
real
it's highly
cannabis growers.
illegal here, but 40 out of the 60 people in this class are all weed dudes. And I'm going to
Yeah,
tell them to quit asking about weed, but you need to know, like, that's who's buying these tickets. They want to know."
yeah. We
And
want
it's
to make the
spread
best
out.
medicine for us and our families and our friends.
Yeah. But, you know, he wanted to teach people to grow food. And
Yeah,
you know,
and
people
he
who are growing
did
organic cannabis, they want to do polyculture. They want to grow their own
yeah,
food too. You know, I got all kinds of
exactly.
food growing right next to my ganja. That's how it's supposed to be done.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know,
And that's really what Dem Pure is so focused on, is bringing it all back to that.
yeah, to me, the really kind of at the core of it is really like regaining your sovereignty,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
and feeling empowered and feeling like, yeah, I can do this. Absolutely, I can do this.
And
Your
it's just,
resources are all around you, and you know, your resources are your people and your community, and you know, that's part of signing up with this group and this family is doing that, you know. And I've made some really incredible friendships, and
Mhm.
you know, grown made some really good business kind of ventures with people, and some lifelong friends that have helped me on my spiritual journey as well. So I think that at a certain point that becomes kind of, um, it's like everything in your life becomes this nexus. It all kind of connects, and
Mhm.
I have to be around people that are on this same kind of mission.
Wavelength?
You know? Yeah, you got to be on this vibe. I just can't.
Yeah.
I can't suffer fools. I can't, I don't want to do silly things. I
Yeah.
got stuff to do, and it's important stuff. And I can laugh and have fun doing it, but this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And if you want to get on this vibe, let's go. Let's run this thing up. It's amazing. This is fun. It's fun to feel good. It's fun to eat good. It's fun to, to have this kind of clean heart and dirty hands and all this thing, and it's the more of us that start doing it, the more power we
Mhm.
have, and the more fun food we have to trade with each other. And,
Yeah.
think about this. This is, in terms of, there's me and my wife, but we made 4 little babies and we're teaching them to do the same kind of shit.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
in a generation, there's going to be more of us, and our kids are making connections with those kids. And, if the world went to hell in a handbasket, I'd feel all right knowing that I got a good network of people that I could go to ground with.
Caring, sharing, and community.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you want to keep going? I know we can stop at an hour. I don't know. Like, you have 5 kids, and you would rather be spending time with your kids than talking to this old part, right?
I really appreciate you having me on, and I'm so sorry for being tardy to the party. We were literally like out there loading up a load of logs, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta go. So yeah, I'm gonna go get cleaned up and have some dinner with the family. But I
Cool.
appreciate you having me on this platform,
Thank you.
and you know, being being a place where we can kind of help spread this message. And thank you to all the fine folks that tuned in and have a listen, because you know the tree falls in forest and nobody's there to hear it. So being able to share ideas is one thing, but being able
Yeah.
to hear and have listening audience and to be able to share that. And I appreciate the encouragement and positive comments and good words, same way. So keep doing stuff natural, keep seeking out the natural world, and understanding that you're a part of it, not apart from it, but a part of it.
And Silly Lily says you'll have to come back again.
Anytime.
Okay, brother. Well, we'll call it there, guys. Have a great night, everybody. Okay, Raz, you may as well take off, man. I'll just close out with telling people what's coming up. Okay, man. Take
Shoots.
care.
Aloha. Aloha.
Okay, guys. So we're going to have, of course, the Soil Matters and the OGs on Monday. We also have May Moon coming in. We're going to be talking about the Vancouver pot fights. So you're going to want to check that out. And then, of course, on Wednesday, Andy Lopez and Grow Our Gardens, The Untold Story. Thursday is Luna. Alexandria is still hiking. She'll be on the week after. She'll be back. So, guys, peace out. Love you all. And we'll see you soon.